6.3, you guys worked on a worksheet looking at how you did last semester, reflecting on not just your grade, because I know grades are very important to you, but the effort behind it, the reasoning behind what you did. I'm going to be looking at these, and I will give them back because I think it's really important to look at the intent, which also relates to what we're talking about. So again, these European countries, they are able to now go to new parts of the globe with more ease, thanks to transportation. We have the steamboat getting around all of Africa, getting up rivers. Then we also have canals like the Suez Canal creating a shortcut. This is making it possible for European countries to get to new locations. It's not like they didn't want to go before, they just really weren't capable of it. Another element of technology that makes empires now in the late 1800s more possible is communication. Before, when empires existed before, it would take months for any sort of communication to go between the colony and the mother country back in Europe. Now we have the telegraph. So in a matter of hours, let's say the governor of some territory in Asia needs more soldiers. He can get that message back home in just a matter of hours, or vice versa. A business in Europe needs more materials, and so they send that to their representative in the colony. But another very important element of this is medical technology. We talked about this in the Industrial Revolution with cholera and Pasteur and medical research. One reason Europeans hadn't gone to many of these locations before is because they kept getting sick. One thing they were getting sick with was malaria. Malaria is born through mosquito bites. It is a blood disease, essentially. And in their travels, people started noticing that there were native groups that would make medicines out of the cinchona or cinchona tree, take the bark and sort of make a tonic out of it or a potion, and it would prevent malaria or it would decrease the symptoms. So then, with technology, the Europeans are able to manufacture this same thing. It's called quinine. It is an incredibly bitter liquid. I think the number is something like 1 part per million in water, 1 drop in thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water. You can still taste the bitterness. So this isn't really a medicine that you enjoy taking or that you want to take, but if it might save your life, you've got to find a way. And one way that the British find in particular is gin and tonic. Let's add a little bit of booze to our medicine. And you do your work in the middle of the day, whether you are in the Caribbean or South America or Africa or Southeast Asia, all these places where mosquitoes are prevalent. You work all day and then you have cocktail hour, not just because it's fun to socialize and drink alcohol, but it is your medicine. It's a nice way to explain having a cocktail at the end of the day. This is partly why the gin and tonic is seen such as a British symbol around the world. Gin is, look at this bottle of gin right here. It has Queen Victoria on it. Yes, it's a cocktail, but it's a way to take medicine to make imperialism possible. This is Cecil J. Rhodes. In chapel, just recently, we had an Oaks alumna, Aurora Griffin, speak to us, and she was just chosen to receive a Rhodes Scholarship. Rhodes was British. As a young man, he came to Africa to explore, to find his fortune, and he found lots of it. He became very, very wealthy, and he comes back to England, and he wants to share what he is passionate about. And he is passionate about Britain, about all of the benefits Britain can provide, because he sees Britain as superior, as British ways as being the best ways. So he establishes these Rhodes Scholarships, using his fortune to make sure that people from around the globe are able to come to Oxford, to come to England, because the English ways are superior. We watched some clips on Myron Rolle, another current Rhodes Scholar. You can check those out in Pages. So we're looking at the intent. Why do people do what they do? Rhodes creates these scholarships. You have an assignment on them. His goal is to transform people from what he sees as the wrong way of doing things to his way, which is the right way. We look at Myron Rolle, who he is pursuing all these great things, but never once talks about himself. He talks about helping others. His heart is about service, not about personal gain. At the Berlin Conference, this is a meeting in 1884 because explorers like Rhodes had discovered all the wonderful things Africa had to offer. Now Europe is interested. We know all these things are there. What are we going to do with it? So Bismarck arranges to have this conference. Everybody decides, what are we going to do? We all now want this potential economic benefit. We want these gains for our countries. We want to prove our political superiority. One thing, rather than go to war over this, because if you remember Bismarck's policy before was realpolitik, take what you want. But however, the resources in Africa are so desirable by all of the European countries, Bismarck knows this would pretty much lead to a world war. So instead, we're going to negotiate. We're going to look at a map, we're going to carve it up, and give the pieces to the European countries. So here you see all of this negotiation, all these discussions between the leaders of European countries, splitting up Africa. But no one bothered to invite the Africans. This perfectly demonstrates the ideology of Europeans at this time, that they felt that they were superior. They didn't even need to consult the Africans because they're like children. They don't even know what they're doing. And so we did the activity where you guys you were scrambling for territory in Africa. As everyone's trying to get what territory they want, if someone gets there first, you might lose out. So here we see what eventually happened. Great Britain, because they had wealth, because they had military power, they are able to claim a great deal of territory. As you saw in the Rhodes picture, essentially from Cairo in the north to Cape Town in the south. France has a lot of the Sahara Desert, but also they have Morocco, what is modern-day Mali, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire. Germany, if you remember, Germany was only recently unified. This is in 1884. Germany became Germany in 1871. So their territories are a little scattered, but because they already had some military power, they were able to take a few scattered places. Portugal really was only interested in ports. They had already been an exploring nation from the 1300s. They are interested in a rest stop in order to get to Indonesia. Spain not really holding a lot because we've talked about this before. The Habsburgs are in decline. Habsburgs aren't even on the throne anymore. But the Spanish are continuing to decline in power and in superiority. All right, so that is it for 6.3.